All right, so today I've got something really cool to show off. It's the Ground Industries Mountainboard trucks. Now, unfortunately, Ground Industries doesn't seem to be around anymore. I checked, and the last Facebook post was way back in 2011. So I think they've been gone for about 6 years or so. But you can still find new old stock in a couple places, as well as used stuff on eBay and places like that. However, getting to these trucks, these ones don't work. They're kind of broken. But I can still show off what they've got to offer, and they've got some pretty cool things, including a pretty unique resistance mechanism using the torsion cube, and I'll get to that later. So let's just do a quick overview. First off, Mountainboard trucks do not have a built-in pivot angle. The truck angle is 0 degrees, which means it has 0 turning. Instead, the turning is all built into how the deck is designed. The angle comes from the angle of this curve on the deck. So if you were to take this board or this truck and stick it on your longboard, which is going to be flat, the thing would just go straight. It would not turn at all. So that means that if you have a mountain board and you want to have a more turny setup, you don't switch out the trucks. Instead, you switch out the board. Very different. Also, because it has this pivot angle built into the deck, all the decks are going to have this drop, which is really nice because mountain boards use much bigger wheels. So you need a drop to get reasonably close to the ground. And if they were to have the pivot built into the trucks, the pivot angle, then the deck would have to go flat again, which would just add more complexity to the deck and to the trucks. So by doing it this way, it's able to be made a lot more simply. The truck is able to be more simple and more compact, and the deck is able to be more simple and more compact. We've also got on here, Riley made some special wedges for this to tune the angles because he wanted a more turny front and a less turny rear. So mountain boards also often have bindings. These are the bindings from the Ground Industries board, and we just recycled them and put them on this other board that we put together. So that's kind of the overview. All right, so now let's take a closer look at this rear truck, which I've already taken apart. So first off, the first thing to mention is that the Ground Industries trucks are channel trucks. So if you see that this hanger has kind of got this U-shaped channel in it, and inside the channel fits this block, and the channel kind of captures the movement so that this can only move around in one way, right? So the other Planet trucks are also a channel truck, but they've kind of done it the other way, or Ground Industries has done it the other way. So here we've got the base plate has got the U-shaped channel, and the hanger moves inside the base plate. And, Ground Industries just has that backwards, the other way around. So there's also got these interesting wear surfaces in here. This is probably just some type of polyethylene pad. And that helps because this surface slides constantly on this surface of the base plate. And they're just constantly rubbing against each other whenever you're turning the deck. So that friction surface is pretty cool. It's cool to see that. But the really unique thing is this. This is the torsion cube. And there are other torsion trucks out there, but not anything quite like this. So how this works is you take the torsion cube and you stick it in the base plate like that. These are interchangeable. This one looks like it's a hardness of 4, and it goes from 1 to 7. We haven't had a chance to try anything other than hardness 4, but hardness 4 is pretty stiff. I think that's probably one of the main drawbacks of these trucks, is how stiff this ends up being. But anyway, that goes in there, and how it works. So you have this nice big square keyway in the torsion cube, and you've got this nice big square keyway in the hanger, and they connect together with this nice big square keys. And these are about 3/8 of an inch, so they're plenty big to stop, to not mar up the inside of these holes here and have them, wear out. They go inside the torsion cube kind of end to end like that, and that provides enough space where there's enough sticking out to stick into the hanger, like that. Well, not like that, but it's a tight fit, so I'm not going to shove it in there. So, with the outside of the torsion cube connected to the base plate, and this metal inside connected to the hanger, how it's supposed to work is that this inside piece twists, and it malforms all this polyurethane all around the outside, and it provides nice, good resistance. The problem that we have here is that the aluminum core on the inside has just sheared off, and it just isn't attached to the polyurethane anymore, so it doesn't provide any resistance at all. But it's actually pretty cool, because what you have here is the hangers basically floating in this polyurethane. So there's no metal on metal contact. As if you go off a jump and you land, it's coming down and it's pressing this urethane in from the inside of the cube to the outside of the cube, and there's no metal on metal contact anywhere. So that's pretty cool. So that makes it really nice and really comfortable compared to probably a normal Kingpin Mountainboard truck, or like the Revo truck, which is a crazy truck design that I'll probably pin up somewhere, or all sorts of, or any other channel truck design is not going to be able to have that same dampening that this thing's got, because the whole thing is floating in urethane, which is really cool. So the other thing we've got here is these purple anodized aluminum end caps, and they just fit on the end here, and basically their job is to keep you from over tightening this bolt. The bolt doesn't need to be tightened too much, because its only job is to stop side-to-side motion of the hanger. The hanger is still free to move up and down a little bit as far as it's allowed to by the polyurethane, but the bolt will keep it from going side to side, making it so that it's got some nice, tight control. But these end caps do more. They're really clever. If you notice these slots cut into the keyways, or the keys, well, these slots, and you also notice these cutouts here, these interface with these end caps. And these inside walls are not straight, they're tapered. So you basically got two tapered ends, and what happens is, as you tighten these end caps down, it presses these two sides of the keys apart and makes the key wider at the top, which locks it really tight into the hanger, so there can't be any slop here. Really clever. So this compresses down as you tighten, spreads out the key, and mushes it into the keyway on the hanger. I'm guessing there's also supposed to be a piece that goes between the two as it's inside the torsion block or the torsion cube, but I think we will have lost it, because that way, as you tighten it down, it'll also do the same thing inside the torsion cube, so that there's no slop in the torsion cube. So it's an anti-slop system. It expands the key to fill the slot. Super, super cool. Right, so let's put it all together. So the torsion cube goes into the base plate. It's got this marks here, it says align, and it says there align, and here it's got align. So you mark up the line with the aligns, and it goes right in there. Then you've got to stick the whole thing onto the hanger. And this is where it starts getting more tricky. The fit of the torsion cube between the channel walls of the hanger is pretty tight. And so it can be a bit of a wrestle to get it all lined up. There we go. And I think it makes it harder because the core of our torsion cube is loose, so it's able to move around and not stay center. So this should hopefully, come on, please, go in there. Might have to persuade it a little bit. No, it will not be persuaded. It looks, oh, I see the problem. It's this direction. Okay, there we go. That side's in. Flip it around, and here's where I'd put the spacer that'd go between these, which would cause this inside to lock inside the torsion cube, which we don't have. Theoretically, I don't know for sure, but that it has that. But it makes sense that it does. That's got to be part of the design. So we put that centerpiece in, then we stick this thing in. This is not staying lined up. That's right. Okay. Perhaps if I get the bolt through, it'll help. There it goes. So that goes through there, and oh no. Okay. There we go. It's sure is a lot of work to get this back together. So then these spacers go in, and they line up, of course, with those slots in the keyway. And they would line up with the slots on that keyway. If I can get it to go. Like there. The bolt goes in. And there we go. The nut goes on. There we go. An assembled Ground Industries truck. That was a lot of work. So now we've got to stick it back on the board, and I've got this nightmare to deal with. Sheesh. Right, so what do I think about these trucks? Well, first off, they're really thoroughly thought out. They thought of all sorts of things. So with the torsion cube, not only do you have an interchangeable resistance, it also is a resistance that provides some suspension. Even though it's stiff suspension, you know, it does have some shock absorption, which is really nice, especially for a mountain board truck. The keys, the way they have this split design so they can open up, get larger, and just lock in, that's really, really clever. That's going to And that gets rid of slop to such a degree that it's not even necessary, but they do it anyways. And I think the other reason is that allows these to be undersized so that they can fit in easier. Because if they were nice and tight to begin with, I mean, I had enough trouble putting it together. So it also helps alleviate putting it together easier. It is a shame that we seem to have lost the little trapezoid that would have kind of brought this whole system together. But anyway, these hangers are really nice. We actually reused these to make a butt board out of, and we just screwed the whole hanger to a block of wood.
It's amazing what a couple grabbers and snaggletooth configuration can accomplish.
So we know the hangers can put up with a lot of abuse because we abused them. So the one thing that I think pulls it all down is the urethane that they had access to at the day really holds this concept back. Because I think this was designed 2006 or earlier from my very quick research. But yeah, so the type of urethanes that we have today are so much better than what they had back then. And if with better urethane, this torsion cube could have done its job so much better. And the other drawback is the fact that the core would separate from the urethane. That may have just been something that needed more time in testing to discover. If the company was still around, that wouldn't be so much a problem because you could just get replacement torsion cubes and you'd be good to go. As it stands, you know what? I'm thinking it might be reasonable to try to recycle this and remake it with some modern urethanes and some more interesting designs. So, there we go. It seems pretty simple. It's a torsion block thing, Mountainboard truck, but it's got a lot going on with it. So there we go. That's the Ground Industries torsion box Mountainboard trucks. Longboard technology, over and out.